For more than a decade, FTI has strived to become the leader in the aftermarket performance transmission and converter industry. We've joined forces with McLeod Driveline Components under the leadership of Top Fuel Funny Car pilot Paul Lee, and now have a larger distribution network, more resources, and more power. Come see us in the pits and ask how you can join the FTI family. It's not cheating, it is the competitive edge.
This is WFO Radio.
Hey everybody, WFO, Joe Castello here with you. It is Gatornationals race week, and everybody knows that NHRA season hasn't officially started until the East Coast is open. That's what we're about to get done this weekend with the Amalie Oil NHRA Gatornationals, and we've got so much going on as E3 Spark Plugs Pro Modified opens up, as Pro Stock Motorcycle opens up, as Factory Stock Showdown, brought to you by Constant Aviation, opens up. We've got all kinds of great stuff going on. And on this show, we're going to catch up with a couple of Pro Mod racers. Lyle Barnett won twice last year. Did we speak with him? No, we did not. We've been waiting for this moment. Also, J.R. Gray going to join us a little bit later on in the show. Flyin Ryan Oehler going to join us on this show. And even Competition Eliminator racer Taylor Chomiski going to join us on this show as we get ready for the Gatornationals and the Pep Boys Top Fuel All-Star Call Out and all the great stuff that is going to be happening right now. Before we bring on Lyle, Lyle's up first, guys. So fans of Lyle, be ready. Share the show. Let's get it out there. I wanted to do something right here at the start of the week. I know nobody's used to WFO on Monday. It's out of the ordinary. But we got to do it because I travel on Wednesday. There's always a reason, guys. There's always a reason. All right, here's the deal. The people who make it possible, I'm talking about FTI Performance. Appreciate talking about them. You heard about him and Paul Lee and that team going back after it. Gainesville Raceway, right there near the home of FTI, and appreciate them. Total Seal Piston Rings, the leader in ring seal technology. TotalSeal.com just updated a new episode of Hidden Horsepower. We're still doing the PRI stuff, and it was great. Go to TotalSeal.com, check it out, subscribe to the podcast, but it's all an exercise in learning about ring seal. It's pretty important. And what I learned when I was up there is that they do, precision stuff, Comp Eliminator, Pro Stock, obviously Stock Eliminator, etc. But they're even moving into the nitro ranks. There are things that they can do for nitro engine builders. A lot of people assume you just got to throw the rings away after one run in a nitro car, right? And that's not necessarily the case. TotalSeal.com. Also, our great friends at samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. We always say, start your education at full speed. Brian Massengill, doing a great job. Give him a call. Tell him you heard about it on WFO and ask for him. Like, Brian, I want to be a student. I'm a GI Bill candidate. All of these things at samtech.edu. Then there's Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. There's nobody closer to Gainesville Raceway than Frank Hawley and the Drag Racing School. The Dragster Adventure, the Dragster Adventure Challenge. Maybe you want to go on and get a license and an alcohol funny card. They can handle all of that at Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, frankhawley.com. And then there's my buddy, Marvin Rodak, who has fueled me this morning. I'm highly caffeinated on this Monday. Go to rodaxcoffeeandgrills.com. Give him a call, 817-924-6821. Call Marvin and be ready for the big news that will be coming up real soon. All right, now it is time to preview the E3 Spark Plugs Pro Modified season with a two-time winner from last year, his first WFO radio appearance. I'm super excited, Mr. Lyle Barnett. What's up, Lyle?
What's going on, Joe? You doing all right, bud?
Yeah, I'm super excited. I am happy to have you guys going again. And just the Gatornationals is like my most significant personal race. And it's got to be for you, too. It's got to be pretty big, being the region of the country you're from. Let's talk about it. Here we go. Are you ready?
Yeah, man, this is home. This is the East Coast. The Gatornationals has been known as really the start of the NHRA season. I know they've already been out west for two races so far with Top Fuel Funny Car and Pro Stock. But to me and to most that are followers of the NHRA, this is really the start of the season. This was my first race in NHRA Pro Mod competition last year. And we had a pretty good showing. We qualified fourth. And who you're going to bring on here in a little bit, J.R. Gray beat me on a whole shot in the quarterfinals. And I bowed out a little earlier than obviously we would have preferred. But this kicks it off, and we tested 3 days last week in Darlington, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. The rig is, I hear the truck running right outside the window right here. Is leaving in a minute. We're going to test tomorrow in Gainesville, and get ready for Q1 on Friday morning.
Exciting. So exciting. And what you did last year and what you have done to this point, there was a time, it's kind of funny, where Stevie Fast was the biggest personality in Pro Mod. We were all like super excited, like, wow, here comes this trash talking guy and he's confident. And that, I don't know if that kicked in the door or if it made folks from the outlaw grudge world decide, hey, that's cool too. Why don't you give me you've had great success in all forms of drag racing, everything that you've done. We're going to flash some photos of the cars you've run. But when Stevie came in a couple of years ago, did that reinforce your desire to be in NHRA Pro Mod? Did it have no effect? Maybe it's a misconceived notion. Give me your assessment. Like, why did you want to be here?
Yeah, no pun intended, but it made the fire burn hotter. It's always been a dream of my dad and mine since I started drag racing when I was 15 years old, which is 16 years ago now. And when Stevie emerged into the class, Stevie, a friend of ours, Stevie tuned some of my Pro Charge stuff very early in my career. So Stevie has been a friend of ours for many years. When I was in the Burn Center in Augusta, which is just down the road from his house, him and his wife Cherie, they kept my family fed along with some other friends there locally. So my background with Stevie goes way back. But it definitely it made it seem more realistic, I guess. That is something that we could make happen. And I had no idea that J.R. Gray was even planning to try and run NHRA Pro Mod until there was an announcement made. And then both of us, all three of us, myself, Stevie, and JR, all kind of coming from the same genre of drag racing, I guess you would call it, the kind of outlaw radial tire, small tire world. And now all three of us compete against each other in the class, which is pretty cool. It's kind of one of those Cinderella story type deals, gives you that kind of feeling when you think about where Stevie came from, where JR came from, and then where, myself, where we all came from. It's pretty neat.
So I'm sure that there are some people in my audience that may have not gotten the pun that you put out there. And for me, you've done so many good things, but even on the microphone, right? Like that's a big part of your story. And it's an admirable part of your story, how you've been an advocate for safety. But I don't want that to be the only part of the story that we talk about, right? Like race wins and talent and ability and what you guys did last year with the turbo car. And I know we got to talk sponsorship for you, right? We got to motivate the audience out there, but give the version of that story to my WFO listeners that tune in to hear about Nitro, and they love the other categories too, but maybe don't know your personal story and how it relates to safety.
Yeah. So in 2015, I was involved in arguably one of the worst door car fires that drag racing has seen at South Georgia Motorsports Park, running from my roots, Radio versus the World. I had a very similar combination to what I'm running in the Pro Mod that I drive for Elite Motorsports and Modern Racing now. Brad 6 Hemi, twin turbo deal on alcohol. It's a very similar combination to what I'm running today. Had a parts failure, which resulted in the car catching on fire at speed. If you remember back a year and a half ago, Erica Enders had a very similar fire in the very car that I'm driving for Elite now. It was kind of the same result, parts failure, which resulted in a fire at speed. The difference, my Radio versus the World car didn't have a true firewall. There was no true barrier between me and the engine compartment. And the fire came inside the car immediately for the most part, bounced off of both walls and burnt for about 28 seconds, which, you can see where they've skin grafted my face, skin grafted my hands, my feet. A year and a half recovery, close to 2 years. Got back into drag racing. I drove a high horsepower, pretty fast radial car a little over a year later. Battled my way back, and now I've found myself competing at the highest level of door slammer drag racing that exists. So it's been a pretty cool journey. Not something I would suggest. Not necessarily the easiest way to get here. But a lot of fight in me. One of those dog backed in a corner type deal. You know, I'm one that doesn't let the horse that bucked me off defeat me. You know, I got right back on it, and it's been pretty cool. But you know, I didn't do it alone. I had a lot of support from the drag racing community, a lot of support from folks like you, Joe, Drag Illustrated, all the media outlets that did a great job in telling my story. And I took it upon myself to become an advocate for safety. There was parts of my safety program that lacked, and nothing shows where your safety program lacks like fire. I had on SFI 5 rated gloves, and then a boosted alcohol car, not enough. It burnt my hands up pretty good. I didn't have a head sock on, had no skirt on my helmet, and my face shield was open. Burnt my face up pretty good, and pretty much in the opening in a helmet is where it burnt me. You know, I had on Dash 5 shoes and Nike socks, right? You know, I just didn't have on the right stuff where it mattered, and I paid for it. But I took it upon myself at that time to be an advocate and a loud voice for safety, man. And I think along the way we've saved some people. There have been some pretty bad door car fires that the drivers themselves reached out to me personally and thanked me for the videos that I've made, you know, and for kind of pushing the envelope there. I've since started to dabble in the no prep world. My little beer money car that I do small tire no prep stuff in. I wear the same stuff in it that I do in the Pro Mod, you know, but I will say that for the most part, and this goes all the way to the street outlaw guys, who I consider the pinnacle of no prep racing in today's world. There's kind of just a turn a blind eye away from the proper safety equipment. You see it from the guys on TV to the guys I'm running against. I mean, I've lined up beside cars, Joe, at some of these no prep events, and the guys have on a single layer jacket that they just bought offline, a dirt bike helmet sometimes at best, gym shorts and tennis shoes. You know, and that's all fine and well, right? Like it's, you know, you're a grown man or woman if that's who I'm racing, and the choice is yours. But I'm just telling you that when the time comes, if you need it, you're gonna really wish you had it if you don't. And fire shows no mercy. It doesn't pick and choose, right? You know, it can happen at any time. And when you're racing the cars that we race today, it's not a matter of if, it's when you're gonna have the wreck. It's when you're gonna crash. You know, that crash I had in 2015 is not the only crash I've had, right? You know, it's inevitable when you start racing with the kind of power that we're racing with today, you know. So for those of you listening that are drag racers and maybe spend a couple extra $1,000 to pick up a couple hundred horsepower, or to, you know, you're looking for that next tenth of a second, wait another year or 6 months or whatever and spend that couple $1,000 to buy yourself some upgraded and new safety equipment. It all has an expiration date, and I'm going to guess that there are some that go to their local racetrack where maybe the tech isn't quite as involved, and you slide through with some, you know, some Snell 2005 helmet, you know, maybe you don't even wear fire pants. You know, most of you have a family, I would assume, or at least you got some family members that love you and want you to be around for years to come. And I don't want anybody to be the victim of a bad accident and, you know, and end up seriously injured or worse because you didn't take your safety program serious.
Yeah. And that message, folks, like that to me, like I've always been an NHRA guy, Lyle, right? Like the major leagues of drag. I know there's a lot of stuff going on. I live in South Florida. There's a grudge scene that happens and everything, but I can focus on Camping World Series, my own little bracket program. I know what's going on, Radio versus the World, and that elevation, how that was kind of coming on the scene. But my real knowledge of you is what you are doing with this moment. You could have gone in another direction. You could have chosen to not push it, to just kind of go back to business, but you realize that racers sometimes can be their own worst enemy, right? Like they're gutsy guys.
Yes,
they're tough guys. They're not out there on the football field, but they're tough people. And there are stories of the Indy 500 back in the day, right? Where there's 40 drivers out there, and it's like, okay, look around. 3 of you are not coming back after this race. You guys want to go race? And they all are ready to go race because it's not going to happen to me. That's the racer mentality. That's what makes the racer mentality great, is because there's nothing that's going to stop them from overcoming whatever obstacle is in their way. They need to hear a voice like yours. Yeah. And you're doing such a great job. And then to get involved and to have success and to win, like to me, to win twice in a car that shouldn't have been able to win. So let's go back to last year, and then we're going to look ahead to this year. But let's talk about these great victories, whether it be in Vegas. Where's the one of you in the cowboy hat? The Dallas win. The Dallas win is one you'll remember forever. We got to be on the stage, the Stampede of Speed. Look at that one. Just an amazing moment. What did that all mean to go from NHRA E3 Sparkplugs Pro Modified participant in your dream to race winner, not just once, but twice?
Yeah, I told my dad when we left Dallas, I said we could hang it up right now, and I would consider my career a success. The Wallies are hard to come by, period. Race wins in the NHRA are very hard to come by and almost unheard of in your very first year. We started the year out in a Pro Charge car. We've all heard this story a couple of times. I tend to say it anytime I talk about it, but we started the year out in one combination. It just didn't yield the results that we were looking for. And Joe, you've known me long enough. Brian Loans knows me. I am as competitive of a person as you will ever meet. At this very moment, I'm looking just as forward to whipping all the butt at Gary Pritchett's cornhole tournament at Hotel Indigo on Thursday night as I am rolling into the water box Friday morning in my NHRA Pro Modified. I can tell you that. But I'm just a competitive person. I hate to lose. I hate it. And like drag racing for somebody like me is like the worst sport ever, because you're going to lose way more than you're going to win. That's just the nature of the beast. You can lose for years in a row. I've been very fortunate. I've won at least a handful of races for the most part every year that I've raced, but there are people that will go years and years, maybe an entire career, and never win a race. But all it takes is one, and all the hard work, all the money spent, all the time away from your family, all things considered, it makes it all worth it. And we raced all of last year. I DNQ'd at Charlotte at the 4-wide. I qualified, and that's my home race. Like Charlotte, the ZMAX Dragway is 35 minutes that way from my shop right now. I DNQ'd at the first one at the 4-wide, qualified 15th, and went out first round at the second Charlotte race, which is just a 2-wide race in the countdown. And I was devastated. Like my home crowd, I think I bought like an additional 140 tickets or something for like friends and family. Like I had a slew of folks come to ZMAX to watch me just not run good, and it wasn't because we were, ill prepared or, just NHRA Pro Modified is a very competitive class. The NHRA did the best that they could, even though we didn't agree, to maintain parity within the class. And a couple of those rule changes really hurt our program. So we decided after I qualified 15th and went out first race in Charlotte that we were going to make a change. The Hairston family, Jim, Jake, Clint, they all just offered up. I mean, we're literally at dinner in the pits after the race on Sunday night. And Jake's like, dude, well, you want to just bring the turbo car out? And I'm like, please, I'll do anything. I will Fred Flintstone a Pro Mod down this racetrack to change the direction right now. And, and the turbo combination is what I love. It's pretty much all I've raced for the past 10 years or so. And so I was pumped up about that. We're going to, get in this thing is good for at least 4 or 5 more mile an hour, and we show up to Dallas. We had been to one test session at Darlington the week prior. It rained it out. So I've got like 3 passes under my belt when we roll into Dallas. And for the Stampede of Speed, they had a little test session for us prior to the start of the race. Got a couple passes in there, shook the first 2 rounds of qualifying. I'm like, here we go. Q4, we bust off a 584 at like 253, qualified 12th. And I had decided when J.R. Gray beat me on a whole shot in Gainesville that I was going to do everything in my power to make sure that did not happen again. And come race day, I climbed up on the wheel pretty good. We blasted our way through eliminations and beat Justin Bond in the final by 2 thou on a pretty big hole shot. So a full circle feeling as far as from where my career started, what happened to me in 2015, and then becoming an NHRA national event winner on the East Spark Plugs Pro Mod Tour. So
Wow.
just unbelievable, you know.
Wow. Well, and that was great for many reasons, because it's such a, like a, monkey see, monkey do kind of thing. Like, oh, can't win with a turbo car anymore, so throw them away. And it's like, well, wait a second. And there are fans. There are people who love watching those turbo cars. We cultivated a fan base of turbos, and then all of a sudden they're gone. Pro Charger only. No, man, we got to have different things going on. And then you go out and you do it again in Vegas to end the year. That was a big one, because it was a milestone event for the NHRA.
Yep. Yeah. We went to Bristol after Dallas.
And that's where JR got his win. So you guys kind of combined, speaking of rivals, you guys kind of combined to dominate the end of the season.
Yep. Yeah. So we go to Bristol, and I've got my chest stuck out, we're coming to Bristol, high altitude, crappy air quality. We're going to go there. The turbo car doesn't care about the air. And we're going to go there and win, and we just had some dumb luck. Like we had a problem that was kind of hidden beneath a couple layers that we just couldn't find. And Justin Elks, after we didn't run very well in Bristol, went home, did some diving through the software and the ECU, found our problem. We come to Vegas, and we really ran well, man. We qualified 5th, and ran a string of low 580s, high 570s there in eliminations. And again, I told myself when we got to Vegas, like, don't let Justin come over the radio and tell you, man, great run, but he got you on the tree. I never want to hear that again. And those words haunt me. Like, I have nightmares and flashbacks of PTSD hearing Justin say he got you on the tree. Like, nothing aggravates me or drives me to be better than that very thing, and losing on a hole shot. And so we go to Vegas. JR Gray beat me on a hole shot in Gainesville. I beat him in the semifinals in Dallas. We meet in the finals in Vegas for a best 2 out of 3, the final race of the year. And really what would have determined, had we had an awards banquet and whatnot, who would have gotten Rookie of the Year, I think. And on the heels of another hole shot, I beat him by 11th thou at the stripe to take my second win of the year, and to close the year out with 2 wins, winning 2 of the last 3, and a top 10 finish in the points. Like, I get to display a single digit on the side of my car for this season, and that's a big deal, man. Almost a top 5. We finished 6th in the points, and I couldn't be more proud of how we closed the year out, and how Ben Stoss, my crew guy, Mike Earl, Justin Elks, Anthony Lum was a part of us last year, he's now engine tuning for the Pro Stock cars. Johnny Maguda was with us for most of the year. And then, of course, my dad, who you all always see pull me in the beams there before we make a run. So we finished the year strong. Richard Freeman and everybody at Elite Motorsports, my teammates, which I've got a bunch this year, Erica, TJ, Aaron, Bo, the Quadras. And that photo and the video that goes along with that will be one that I will cherish for my entire life. Like, anybody that was associated with Elite Motorsports that was still on the property in Dallas is standing in that photo right there. And when my win light comes on, that right lane goes nuts. Everybody's jumping around and screaming and high-fiving. And, dude, it's just that video that Courtney Enders took was just so cool. And it really tells the story of the type of family that you become a part of when you join the Elite Motorsports crew. They have your back until the very end, and will literally fight for you if you need for them to.
Right. Which, speaking of Dallas,
Right. So, it's unbelievable. And, I say it all the time. When I went to Fort Worth to Elite HP to meet Richard, Erica, Alex Laughlin at the time, and those guys for the very first time, it was like we had known each other forever. And they welcomed me with open arms and have taken me right in. I lean on Erica and those for some advice for multiple things, whether it's PR related or, she coached me through my first final round, like, this is what you do this for, this is why you're here. Now go out there and do your thing and shine, and they were some of the first ones to me at the top end. It was like a brigade of scooters and golf carts that showed up down there, and we had just as big a party at the top end as they did on the starting line. But it's just a cool deal, and like I've said many times, a dream come true for somebody like myself that came from a 7-0 bracket racer from Little Robbins, North Carolina, to a 2-time NHRA national event winner. Just
that is
unreal.
Awesome. And more to come, hopefully. Now, we have extended the invitation to JR to come on the show, and I wanted to have you guys kind of crosstalk because you guys are going to be battling it out again this year, but you set the table perfectly with the Gainesville, Bristol, Vegas, best of 3 kind of deal. So hopefully he can make it. We were kind of going back and forth. I hope it will work out, but if it doesn't, then obviously you win, right? Like that's it. The big WFO battle, then you win. But let's talk about this year. Oh, there he is. He's popping on. JR is going to be on momentarily. But before we get to a little trash talk and a little fun, let's talk about what's going on with the sponsor this year. I saw a post last week that somebody that was with you couldn't do it, et cetera, and so on. Last second help. Talk about your plan for the year. What do you need? That's the question.
Yeah, so we're registered and signed up for all 10 races. I paid the early entry fee deal, and I'm going to be at all 10 national events, no matter what. I did have a title sponsor for these first 2 races. The first one in Gainesville, the second one being in Charlotte, and unfortunately, due to some circumstances completely out of their control, they had to back out for the time being. We may see them later in the year. We're hoping to get them back on for the Charlotte race. They were a local southeast local company that was, really trying to get their name out there for while we're in this kind of Eastern swing. And unfortunately it just didn't work out. So I'm going to Gainesville. I'm going naked. I don't have a title sponsor right now. I've got a couple small ones that are helping a little bit, but my big sponsor that was going to kind of help us get going is no longer with us. So, we're just looking for anything, because there's so much that goes into this, right? Travel expense, crew, room and board, food, and with the price of fuel today, it's pretty pricey to make this deal happen. So, we are looking for some title sponsors. I got it any way you can skin it. There's plenty of options, multi-race options, the entire year, half the year, 1 race, half a race, 2 races, whatever you want to do. We've got options and all that laid out, and anybody that would possibly be interested in coming on board with us for this year, whether you go through Joe or just through my social media, I'm pretty easy to reach. Lyle at Lyle Barnett Racing is my email address if anybody's interested, and we can at least talk about it. Miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So we can at least talk about it. And if it works out, cool. If it doesn't, maybe at a later date.
There you go. That's what these conversations have to happen. All right, let's bring on the rival, right? The way you said it, he's on the air. And just so you know, we're going to have you guys crosstalk for a little bit. I'm going to let you go, Lyle, and I'm going to stay on with JR to talk about his first win, his side of the story out there in Bristol. Let's bring him on the other side of that story, Mr. JR Gray. What's up, JR? How are you?
How's it going? I'm doing good. Sorry I was late. I was making a lap. I'm trying to break a record out there.
Oh, all right. So, but you're out testing. How did it go? Did it work?
It worked good. It worked real good, and we're pleased so far. It came straight out of the box and went right down the track, so we're doing good right now.
All right. So we just heard Lyle's story of winning his first races in E3 Sparkplugs Pro Modified, and I want to hear yours. But let's focus on what has occurred over the past couple of years, or last year especially, a little back and forth. Lyle told me at the start of this interview that you guys are friends, but this year you're going to be arch rivals. I want to hear your version of that, JR.
Well, I beat Lyle with a whole shot in Gainesville to start the season out real good. And then Lyle ended up beating me with a whole shot in Vegas, so I'll forever owe him one. It don't matter until I get one back in the finals, then I'm always going to owe him one. So, we're just going to keep on beating and banging back and forth, and hopefully, we keep on turning on W's and getting Wallies.
All right.
Yep.
So listen, Lyle sent me a photograph that I should display on the screen that I think you're really
All right, listen, before you do that,
set it up.
If anybody can help JR, I don't want you to show up to the Gator Nationals looking like this. So Joe, you can put it on there. Now listen, if anybody can help JR, the piece that's missing is somewhere around the starting line in Las Vegas at the Strip at Las Vegas. So JR's got fans all across this nation. I know he could really use the help. I want him to show up to Gainesville looking his best. So if anybody can help him out somewhere, I'm sure priority flat rate overnight, we can get it to Gainesville. I can help him out. I just want him. I want him to show up looking professional and not looking like the man we've got displayed here. I can't believe they even posted that picture.
Hey,
wow!
I'll tell you one thing. I'll tell you one thing. The Headless Horseman is one of the most feared characters of your storybook time. So I'm fine with being the Headless Horseman. I might be slinging some pumpkins at you this weekend, buddy. Because last I remember, I guess you picked yours up about the middle of the season off a Gainesville starting line and got it back home.
Shit. I didn't pick mine back up till we rode into Dallas. I found it over in the landfill there, not far from the racetrack, because I was missing my head all year long. But
it's a source of pride, right, guys? Like people who are watching the stands maybe don't know a run goes down the racetrack and they forget it because the next one comes up. Something might have happened that will last forever on that run.
Yep, absolutely. Like I told you before the show, Joe. JR and I, we've been friends for years. We come from the small tire radio world, just like Stevie did. But we race for different teams. We represent different power adders, and JR and I have talked about it. We're going to be arch rivals all year long. We're going to talk junk. We're going to bet money when it comes to different races and whatnot, and try to keep the drive alive and the spirit around where NHRA, where Pro Modified came from, and bring that back. It's kind of gotten lost, I think, throughout the past several years. It's become more of what I say is I feel like I need to tuck my shirt in when I'm walking around at an NHRA national event. And I don't think that should be the case. That's not where Pro Mod come from. It's not where us as drivers and personalities that represent the class, it's not where we come from. And myself and JR and Stevie are kind of going to take it upon ourselves to bring the old trash talk, rough and rowdy, Pro Mod class back. We need it. The class needs it. That's what the fans like. That's what the fans like to see. And I think that myself, JR, and Stevie have a job to do. And we're going to do our best to do it.
I love it. All right. So JR, I want to let Lyle go so you can give us your version of what went down last year. But any parting thoughts before we let Lyle go? Photo, what you're going to do this year, how it's going to go, could be positive, could be negative. And I hope that our Camping World Series racers, as we're poised for this Pep Boys All-Star call out in Top Fuel, where we're trying to give them the ball to do this, hopefully they can learn, right? People love that. So take it. What do you got?
That's right. Lyle's good on a little propaganda there. He was prepared with the picture. I jumped straight out the car in the truck here. But what I will say, just to add a little bit to what he was going, we'll be good at beating and banging and getting back and forth at it. That really starts and energized as we're at each event. And the cameras and the different things like that, and we'll be prepared and better off. But another thing, like me, Lyle, and even Stevie, I know definitely me and Lyle, but we're both so passionate. We both race way above our means. There's a level of racing where I'd be comfortable. It wouldn't be no big deal. But we're both making, leaps and bounds to run this NHRA circuit. And so, I'm not saying we're no more passionate than anybody else, but my point is a real passionate racer is always racing above his means, not where he's comfortable at. And, so I think it's going to be a good season, and we've been beating and banging a little bit. Facebook's been putting me on restriction. Like I can't say anything on Facebook anymore. I've been put in Facebook jail 3 times saying something about Lyle, and I can't figure out who's turning me in, but they just throw me in jail.
I can promise you it's not me, but it has made it very easy for me to kind of push that to the side. Like, whoops, JR's gone. So I got a couple weeks.
I got 15 days, and I couldn't say nothing.
Well, guys, listen, I want to welcome you.
15 days the other day, and everybody was talking about me.
You may trash talk on WFO all you want without getting kicked off. Just so you know, just throwing it out there.
Well,
Wow.
I will say that the blower gods have blessed JR. I guess his 15 days he spent in Facebook jail, he did a little bit of praying. The weather gods have blessed the blower combinations for this weekend. So I fully expect to be 4 or 5 behind. And that is another beauty of Pro Modified is throughout the course of the year, different power adders are favored at different times of the year, and I know going into Gainesville that I am at a disadvantage based on the atmospheric conditions. I mean, that's common knowledge, right? But later on in the year, when we go out west, when it's hot and muggy and the air is not there, I will be favored, and that makes it fun. Right now I fully expect JR and them to go out and out qualify us. And I expect to have to do my job on the tree if I'm going to get around them, right? But later in the year, JR is going to be running from behind, so it makes it fun throughout the year that we can go back and forth, and I can kind of project how much shit I'm going to talk based on how the weather is looking for the given track that we're going to, like JR's got me right by the what's right now.
Well, what about the screw supercharger? Real quick, I got to ask you both your opinion. A new power adder comes in this year, and they kind of want to do it the opposite way of what they did with the Pro Charger, which was let the Pro Charger crush everybody and then rein them in. They're going to do it a little bit differently. What do you think, JR?
I think I'm back.
Yeah.
I think it was, it's going to be interesting. I think it was a good way to come at it because they have went the other way a couple of times. So it'll be interesting to see how it unfolds.
Oh, no.
I hear there's some screws coming, so it'll be good curious. I'm excited to see them go down the track and see what they can do too.
All right. Lyle, your thoughts on the screw if you still
I can't hear
too.
I can't hear anything y'all are saying, so I'm just going to
peace out.
Talk about the screw blower for a second.
Yeah, do that. Yeah.
I think that, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I can't hear y'all at all, so I'm just going to talk and then I'll leave. I think that the screw is coming in from behind. And I think, come on, man. I think the screw's coming in from behind and that it's going to take a few rule adjustments to get them competitive. But I do suspect that the NHRA over the course of the year will refine that combination and that they will be competitive at some point. But I do not expect them to come in like the Pro Charger and crush everybody for 3 or 4 races in a row before that happens. I can't hear anything y'all are saying. JR, now's your time to shine if you want to talk a little junk about me, but I'm going to get out of here before you do. See you later.
There goes Lyle Barnett. How about that, Lyle? What a great guy, obviously.
Hey,
go ahead, JR.
If he thinks he's only 3 or 4 numbers behind, he's in trouble. Ain't no light on the planet going to save him this weekend.
Ooh.
No light on it's going to save him this weekend.
Well, let's.
And not to mention, I got some more stuff for him on the starting line.
Oh, really? Good. Well, and this is what we want, and this is what we need. And you guys, he just laid out the battle between you guys. But let's focus in on that win out there. And we got Flyin Ryan going to be on next, by the way. Taylor, I see you down there. Stand by, guys. Stick with us. But let's talk about getting that first win, because that was emotional. You said you guys are racing above your means, but you got a call last year when Mike Janis couldn't it wasn't smart for Mike Janis. Oh, we just lost him. He got a phone call. Wasn't smart when Mike Janis to continue racing, and you guys put the deal together, and JR was able to go out there and score a victory, which was pretty amazing. Flyin Ryan, you're going to be up next. Taylor, you're going to be up next as we're doing our Gatornationals preview. Maybe some comments on what you just saw while JR Gray connects, and we'll get him back momentarily. Jim Essex saying it's awesome. And we're going to talk about some entry lists, by the way, guys. 21 top fuelers, 16 funny cars, 21 pro stockers. Will Stevie Fast be racing this weekend? I believe he is. My man's like Stevie Fast is not going to miss the Gatornationals, certainly. And we're waiting on JR Gray to come back. Facebook sucks, been in Facebook jail. Yeah, I haven't yet to be in Facebook jail. I don't know why. I just, I don't know. I don't mix it up with anyone too much out there. All right. While we're waiting for JR Gray, I know Flyin Ryan Oehler is out there, and let's bring him on for a second. What's up, Ryan? Pro Stock Motorcycle, getting ready to roll off. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, can you hear me? My earbuds are dead, and I'm driving, so I'm doing a mic check right now. Mic check.
I hear you.
1, 2.
You are good. You are live. You are not driving. Someone else is driving. You're just kind of enjoying the ride.
Yeah, it's one of those cars with 2 steering wheels.
Exactly. So if your signal isn't totally stable, so give us your Gainesville pre-race report in case we lose you.
Okay, I'll do my best. So we've been testing a lot so far this year. We're still trying to pick up the pieces from when our program fell off performance-wise. And, we're starting to have some success. We've had to revert back to basically our entire program from when we were fast and competitive in 2019 and 20 as far as engine combinations go. So, what we were having was crankshaft problems, and it's a very difficult thing to really explain, but that is where we are. We've reverted back, and hopefully that's going to bring the performance back and hopefully back into the winner's circle as well.
Excellent. That is great. All right. I wanted to make sure. I see JR is back. JR's phone overheated. JR, we'll get back to you in a second. Just have it chill out there. Put it in front of the AC. We got Flyin Ryan Oehler. Here's the deal. Everybody's headed to Gainesville, right, Ryan? Ryan, you're doing an appearance. Tell everybody where it is, because I think it involves chicken wings. When's that happening?
Yep. We're having a fan meet and greet at the Gainesville Hooters on Thursday night. I believe it starts around 7 p.m. We're going to have a discount for anybody that's wanting to come out and eat and drink. And then all the drivers and crew guys and stuff, I believe, are going to be able to have free beer and some free wings. So, everybody come out. Last year was real successful. We had our Tampa Bay race rental cars there, and we had our Pro Stock bikes on display. Robert from Nutsense is really hosting this. And, we're really grateful that he's been, so supportive of Tampa Bay race rentals as well as NHRA and our Pro Stock bike team. So thank you, Robert.
Excellent. And that's what I wanted to have you on. I'm going to let you get back to getting to Gainesville. I'll see you out there. Pro Stock Motorcycle starts this weekend, actually. And I know you're doing an appearance. Hopefully the WFO Universe will show up and say, what's up?
You got it, man. We'll definitely do that.
All right, Flyin Ryan. Good luck this weekend. See you out there.
Bye.
There he goes. Flyin Ryan Oehler. Let's go back to JR Gray. Your phone overheated.
It's hot down here in Florida.
Yes. Okay. So
with the AC going and just died. But anyhow, go ahead.
Well, this program uses a lot of juice. It uses a lot of juice. But let's talk a little bit about wanting to be involved in Pro Mod. You mentioned you racing over your means, but the Janis family has helped you do that, and you delivered. But it wasn't easy. You tagged the wall. You had a problem. You had done mostly 8th mile racing, switching to quarter mile. I want you to talk a little bit about that and now what it means to be one of the drivers who has won in the NHRA.
It was amazing, and it was, real emotional and all, because, we'd worked so hard all season. We were fighting the old car a good bit, and we just couldn't quite figure out what was going on. It was wandering around, ended up crashing it, getting a new car. We balanced it out. But the overall win, I carried the Wally everywhere. I probably got a photo of 30 photos of everywhere I took the Wally with me. We went to eat with me that night, went to bed with me, went to work with me the next day. I let all my employees take pictures with it. Anywhere I could take a picture with it, I took a picture with the Wally. And that went on for a couple of days. And it just meant a lot. I came from a racing family, sportsman racing, and I could just imagine my grandpa and my dad are passed away, but I could imagine, what they're saying in heaven. And, it was just, that was the biggest moment, in my life. The only race, to me, the biggest race for me to win. Bristol was one of them, but, the Gatornationals is, Florida's my original home track. And the Gatornationals, I went there from the time I was 1, all the way until I was about 12 before I moved to South Carolina. So the Gatornational really means a lot to me. So it would be awesome to pick up another win at the Gators. We went into, when we got the car figured out, we went into Texas when Lyle won his first race. And in reality, we were blowing everybody's doors off, and we had a transmission problem. And, we really, we were 400 or 500, if I remember right, faster than everybody, and we were rolling. And then we rolled right on over to Bristol and, ended up winning Bristol and then went straight to Vegas and finished in the finals in Vegas. And I think that we have a real strong car, a real strong team, and we're ready to stack it up. Rivalries, I want to crush anything that has Bahrain 1 on the side of the door. And it don't matter what they got Bahrain 1 stuck on. I want to beat them. Lyle, they need to put a Bahrain 1 sticker on Lyle's car over there too, so that way it'll be 4 against 1. I like the odds.
I like it too, and I love to hear that. And Stevie though is going to have something to say about that. Like, those guys have been over there testing doing a lot of running during the off season. And my experience is that whoever runs the most over there, and Mike Janis was the guy who did well over there too, takes that experience and turns it into something over here.
Shoot, by the end of the year, they're going to have that Bahrain 1 sticker upside down on the door.
JR, I appreciate this, and we're going to cover this story all year long. Thank you for coming on the show. Sorry it took so long to talk to you about your first win, but I feel like the timing was right to get you and Lyle on here to battle back and forth, and hopefully everybody sees what trash talk with a little respect is all about.
That's right. We look forward to having an exciting season and really trying to bring, get everything going on for the fans, and it's going to be fun. We had a lot going on last year. People just didn't get to hear about it. So this year we're going to try to, get it more public where everybody knows.
Yes, everybody's got to know. We got to know, and we'll make sure to do our job as best as we can as well. JR, we're connected now. Anytime, man. Good luck this weekend.
All right. Thank you.
Here it goes. Thank you. See you this weekend. JR Gray with us here on WFO. Lyle Barnett. We had a little Flyin Ryan Oehler in there. Taylor Chomiski going to be on seconds from now. Your comments in the comment section. What do you think about the way these guys are able to very easily talk trash and still be respectful and enjoy each other at the racetrack? We need more of that in all of our categories, and I think these guys are showing the way. Your thoughts, put them in the comment section. We'll get to that. We'll talk some entry lists, but now I want to get out to a friend of the show, WFO, Mr. Taylor Chomiski, who's going to be running his own family car for the very first time this weekend at the Gatornationals here on our Gatornationals preview. Taylor, how are you?
Joe, WFO Universe, how are you guys? Happy Monday from Dallas, Texas.
The big D. When are you heading out? When are you heading to Florida?
We leave Thursday night. I think the trucks are heading out from Elite tomorrow, and we'll be there to get set up and be ready for Q1 Friday night down in hopefully sunny Florida.
Now, this is your second time on WFO, I think, but this is the first time as a team owner of a car, going out there and making big moves to make this happen. Tell us about this machine. You just got it wrapped. You're ready to go. And to me, Taylor, this is what's so exciting for me for you is that, you're a young guy. You were doing your own thing. You had a good opportunity that went away, and you've decided, no, man, we're doing it. We're making it happen. We're going all in on Competition Eliminator. Tell us how and why and all the deets.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Joe. A lot's changed since the last time I was on your program with you a year and a half ago. But all programs and all race teams have a life cycle that unfortunately come to an end, but that's just the nature of the business. So I was listening while I was in the background there to JR and Lyle, and racing above our means. Definitely, I'd like to throw my hat in the ring there for sure. But it's just time to control my own destiny here in the racing world. I'm very fortunate that I'm able to do it. I found probably the only banker in small town Texas to give me a loan to acquire some assets that will pay off as we go. But I just wanted to basically control my own destiny, Joe. I wanted to have all the balls in my court. If I have a little bit of sponsorship help, which I do from some great partners, and if I'm able to do it, I can go to the races and I can compete, and no one can take that away from me now. So it's a pretty exciting deal. We are working Dad to the bone in Amarillo, where the car is, trying to get this thing ready to go. Baby Gators was a real stretch that I wanted to try to hit. Didn't hit that, but we're going to test the weekend after Gainesville at the local track in Amarillo, see what falls off, and get ready for the second Division 4 race in Noble, Oklahoma. So we got a 12-race schedule this year that's going to allow us to get out there a little bit besides the Pro Stock stuff. So very happy, very humbled, but super, super excited to get this car on track and show what my dad and I can do.
Exactly. And you're gonna go after the Brogdon money. It's really what it's all about, right? The Roger Brogdon. All you got to do is get the Brogdon money and you could pay off everything.
It wouldn't matter if I still lived in Winnipeg. I'd still be coming down here for that Brogdon money. It's up there. Someone's got to take it. Might as well throw your hat in the ring.
Right. Then the Brogdon money, like everybody is talking about Comp Eliminator. All right. So let's talk about the power plant, though, because there's an interesting story to this. And, people root for people because of where they are or what they, where they live, or there's 100 reasons. People root for cars and drag racing because they like the car. There's a reason for certain fans to root for this car. Tell us a little bit about this engine that you guys found.
So the whole start of this program started when we were at PRI, and my dad and I got talking to a few gentlemen who owned that engine that you're looking at there. It's the last Bill Grumpy Jenkins engine that he built for Pro Stock truck. So although the parts are a little older, It's only got about 20 runs on it since it was built brand new in the early 2000s, and it's just been sitting in the garage waiting for someone to have a new home for it. So we were able to acquire that engine. And then after we got that, my dad thought he could flip it. And then we got the wild hair that we could create our own program. So that's the last Grump engine he ever built for truck. It's a 358 small block. We updated a few things. It's got a new camshaft. It's got some new push rods. It's got things that are going to bring it into this era of racing. Thank you to Dave Hughes at Hughes. He built us a manifold in a short time frame and was able to shorten those runners a little bit and bring it into the 2022's era of the world. So it's going to be on the dyno tomorrow. We ran it when we first got it. It's promising, but it is what it is. So I've got faith in my dad. We don't have the Carl Foltz heads. We don't have all that stuff quite yet, but it is what it is. And I think if we can be in the 50 to 60 under range, we might not qualify number one where we go, but we'll have enough to compete on Saturday night and Sunday. So super excited to have that in between the frame rails.
Exactly. Like, come on, the Grump touched that. Like, he built, that's the last Grumpy engine for Pro Stock truck. Think about Bill Grumpy Jenkins out there. And I just think that's a great story. So I always like talk about you as an up and coming star in drag racing that hopefully someday you'll be running Pro Stock, because I know that's what you want, right? Like, that's where you want to be. And the doorway to Pro Stock is often Comp Eliminator. So what class and comp do you think this thing is going to be in? And talk a little bit about just, gaining experience to ultimately get to your goal.
Yeah, so this is going to be in the category of C altered in Competition Eliminator, which is the exact same mechanics as a Pro Stock car. We do have the carburetors and the hood scoop, so no fuel injection on this, but it is a clutchless 5-speed transmission, all the same mechanics. The only difference is it's a 358 cubic inch engine instead of a 500. So still shifting, still staging with the clutch, still pulling the chutes, still doing all the same mechanics. So I got the opportunity at the end of last year to work with the elite folks and with Lee Sharp and drive that car that Erica and Bo Butler drove. So to be the third guy to drive that behind those two is pretty special company. So I was able to show them a little bit of what I can do and who I am, and working with them this year on Butner and on the Pro Stock side of stuff keeps me involved and hopefully makes the transition a little bit smoother when we have a little bit more funding to jump up to the big ranks. But yeah, that's my goal. Got to start somewhere. I still want to be out there. I still want to be driving. So Competition Eliminator is the category where if you dream it, you can do it. It's a lot of fun being chased down the racetrack, getting to chase sometimes the altered, the dragsters, front engine stuff, all the door cars. It just makes it a unique class. So I know it's hard for most of the fans to understand what's going on, but you can never lose by going too fast, which is what us gearheads, us performance guys like to see. You just might hurt yourself later on in your career, but that's okay because you can always go back and make more power. So we're going to be out there in C altered. We're going to race 8 divisionals and the 4 nationals that Pro Stock doesn't go to keep us busy. So we got a lot of support here. So looking to have some fun.
Okay, but this weekend though, like you're also helping out with Bo. Talk a little bit about what you do on Bo's car. And I love having Bo and Randy Lynn back. They're fun people, and elevating new talent, right? Like that's part of it. You have a much better chance of becoming a Pro Stock driver, knowing how to do a whole bunch of stuff on a Pro Stock car. And you've worked with other teams and all, but this opportunity, just talk about it. And it's gonna be a lot. Like this weekend, it's gonna be a lot. But talk about it.
It's gonna be a lot. Yeah, we've got a lot of cars under the elite banner, and I couldn't ask for a better car or better people to be working on with Bo and Randy Lynn and with Jason Johnson's Horsepower Garage. They're a great group of people. I need to keep myself in the game. I need to immerse myself in Pro Stock, continue down that level. Worked in Pro Stock for a long time, but never with this kind of opportunity where I think every time we show up, we can be number 1 through 4 competing with obviously KB, but the other cars that are under the elite banner. So I'm doing the back half on Bo's car. I build the transmissions. I help the guys wherever I can. It's funny because my dad's my best friend and he's working for Elite too, but he's working and kind of overseeing Christian Quadra's operation. So I don't see him throughout the day because we're about 7 trailers apart, even though we're in the same camp. So it's pretty cool what Elite's doing. I love the way Pro Stock has been trending the last couple of years. I hope it makes anybody want to jump in and get their feet wet because it couldn't be more readily available to you now. It couldn't be more cost effective. It's still a pro sport. So just because I can throw football, I shouldn't be allowed to play in the NFL. So it still is a pro sport. It's not for everybody, but if you have the means and you want to get out there and try, this is a great time to be in Pro Stock.
I love to hear you say that because that is also true. Like as much as drag racing is a very accessible motorsport, if you have the means, you can definitely go buy all the stuff. But when the time comes to be out there, can you do this or can you not do this? Like, it will be very obvious to the entire world whether or not you can do it. And I just don't think that we do a good enough job of explaining how challenging it is to do this. It's so hard, but people see, I get in a car every day. I get in a car, I sit there. There's a wheel. I put it in gear. He puts it in gear. It's kind of like the same thing, except it's not.
Yeah, all eyes on you when you're in there. And normally when you come out, you're first out, normally by yourself during the first qualifying session. So eyes are on you. Pro Stock is one of the most technologically advanced classes that the NHRA has. They don't have 11,000 horsepower. They don't have flames coming out the side. So they look like they're gliding on TV and everything's easy. But there's so much from watching the weather up until the last minute we go into the staging lanes, the clutch adjustments, the lowering the RPM or raising it 100 RPM on the starting line, and that's going to make or break your run. There's so much that goes into it, which the NHRA could show a little bit more of. I know it's hard, and I know they have as much going on in their program as possible, but there is so much behind the scenes in the Pro Stock car that makes it so unique, makes it fun, and stole my heart from when I was a little kid. That's for sure.
Me too. And now you're going to be driving a car that got an engine that was built by Grumpy Jenkins. That's like...
It's pretty surreal. Yeah, it's pretty surreal. When I try to stay firewall back in the race car because that keeps me out of the most trouble. But my dad, when he took it apart, there's so many things that Grump thought about 20, 30 years ago that are just amazing. Just how intricate some of the parts are. And is that the best way to do it? Or is that the way we do it now? No, maybe not. But back then he was he was the best, one of the best there was. And he was definitely before his time. And some of the parts that are inside of there, it's pretty cool. So we're going to try to enhance it a little bit. We're going to try to bring it up to scale, and we're going to go out there and race it. So I don't need to qualify number one to compete on Sunday. If guys want to take a little more index to beat me, well, then they're going to have to do it because we'll be in the other lane giving them a run.
Taylor, for people who want to follow you, we got a couple of great comments a little bit earlier about Lyle and JR, and Derek says a lot of folks don't root for anyone because they don't know anyone. We need more interviews of these guys. And that's an interesting point. And Jim says, you're right, Derek, because there's a whole conversation going on in the chat section of WFO at all times that has nothing to do with me. And I love that. But we got to make people connect with you guys. So where can fans follow you through this experience, not just this race, but over the course of the weekend? Give your social.
Yeah, please do. Instagram and my YouTube channel is at Chamisky, TCHOMISKI. My Facebook is just my full first and last name, so Taylor Chomiski. But Instagram, trying to build more of a YouTube presence like we all are, which is at Chamisky. So I'm also going to be featured. Some of my sponsors that joined on this year are going to do their own social plugs, so I'll obviously share those as well. But please go on and support these brands that are supporting a young racer. So if you don't mind, Joe, and let me do my best John Force here quickly, but I got to thank those people who are helping me this year. I really do. So the guys from Talent Corp have signed on again for this year. They were with me last year. We're going to have QR codes on top of our stanchions at the back of our pit area throughout the regions we're in throughout the year in 2022. So if you're an employee needing work or you're an employer looking for some high quality talented labor, please get onto talentcorp.com. Aries Consulting and Technologies is a big help to all of the businesses here that we're associated with, and they're jumping on board. ncmachine.com is a CNC and fabricating manufacturing plant in Winnipeg. We're going to do a big splash at the Brainerd National event with them on the door, so I'm proud to have them on board. Osmet Architectural, which is where I'm at right now. That's my day job. Osmet and Oakhurst are jumping on board with me this year, not only supporting me, letting me go to the races, work remote sometimes when I need to, but they're also jumping on board with me too. So feels fantastic for that. Classic Auto, Watson Concrete, Limited Access, and Brandon with Lucas Oil. Thank you guys. Thank you everybody for making this possible for me. Thanks for jumping on board. I couldn't do it without you, and we're going to make you proud here in 22.
That was a good John Force impression. A couple of notes. When you say Brandon, you got to say Bernstein. Because, come on, you're Brandon. Nobody's like, oh, Brandon Bernstein. Oh Brandon Bernstein. Well, I think that's number one.
That one. Yeah, he's become a good friend over the last couple of years. So
no, Brandon is a great guy. He's a friend of the racer. That's it. He is a racer. He's a friend of the racer, and that's why he's doing such a great job. Moving stealth behind the scenes, helping people out in ways that the average fan doesn't understand, but that's the job, and he's doing a great job of it. But you also mentioned Osmet Architectural, which is Shane Tucker, who is also on the entry list for the Gator Nationals. What do you know about that?
I know that he was planning on running Gainesville and Vegas. I know Australia's rules are still a little bit behind the U.S., so I know he's working frantically to get back here. He is planning on running in a select few events. I know Rob's been working on their own horsepower in North Carolina, so hopefully he'll be able to come back and join us. And I know when he does, that's another car that could take a spot from one of the normal 16 that show up. So excited to see my buddy Shane back. Looking forward to having another Pro Stock car for a few races here in 2022. So I know he's on his way back. He was supposed to have a flight a couple days ago. I don't know how that's going, but hopefully he can get on this side of the pond before Friday Q1. And if not, I'm sure Rob will put his hand up and want to be in there just as fast as Shane would want to be. So yeah, I'm sure there'll be a Tucker on the entry list.
or Rob doesn't want him to show up, and that's a different story for a different day. Because Rob
probably behind the scenes, yeah.
And then finally, Courtney is your office mate. What is this?
Yeah, so Courtney's been kicked out of a few of the elite trailers from what she's told me. So we've got Bo's trailer on the end of the elite camp, and we've got no technical data going on our side. We leave that to the crew chief lounge up in Erica's. So we've got two beautiful C-Tech fold-down cabinets. I take one for my office so I can keep up on the emails, and her and Dion take the other one and run all the social media out of our trailer. So it's nice to come over to our side and get a break, and it's nice to spend the day with Courtney and Dion. That's for sure.
Way to go. Yeah, Dion, great guy too. Taylor, good luck. I'm excited, man. I'm excited for you. This whole endeavor takes guts, takes courage. You're doing it, you're showing it, and that's what people like to see. Hopefully someone out there will help you do as much as you want. Go get some of that Brogdon money. She says, overgrowing other trailers. Exactly.
That's what I meant to say, Courtney. I'm sorry. No, Joe, thanks for having me on. Thank you for letting me tell my story. I appreciate it. It's great that the Lucas Oil Racers, not the Sportsman Racers, the Lucas Oil Racers get their recognition, get out there, try to get as much help, because we've got the same amount of passion, and we're trying to race and just doing it the only way we know how. So I'm looking forward to 22. I'm very proud. I'm very humbled. And log on to NHRA.tv, log on to Drag Race Central and NHRA.com to see how TC Racing is doing throughout 2022.
There you go. Way to go, Taylor. I'll see you in a few days.
Thanks, Joe. Be safe.
There goes Taylor Chomiski with us here on WFO Radio. And he popped me a text this morning. I'm like, you want to come on the preview show? And here we are, just like that. And a little Flyin Ryan, a little Taylor. We did comp, we did Pro Stock Motorcycle, we did Pro Modified. Oh, yeah. And that's that brings us to the conclusion. Except I do want to talk about the entry lists, guys, and your race predictions, right? We're going to have Reinhardt on tomorrow. He's on the beach somewhere, though. I just saw some text message that he put out. Like, Reinhardt, look at Alan Reinhardt. Oh, so difficult, the life of Alan Reinhardt. There he is. Look at my view. Having lunch with a better view? Let's see it, says Reinhardt. Not me. I'm not. Anyway, we'll do that tomorrow, but let's talk a little bit about what's going on here. For instance, Pro Stock. Greg Anderson, Erica, Dallas Glenn, Kyle Koretsky, Aaron Stanfield, Troy Coughlin Jr., Mason McGahey, Chris McGahey. So right away, everybody there's got a shot to win. Matt Hartford, Camry Caruso. Shane Tucker, we just heard that that's a bit of a problem. Larry Morgan is back with the Beaver Motorsports team. Roger Brogdon, that's a KB car. Derek Kramer, they've elevated their game. Michael Heiner was very happy with what they had going on out there in Arizona. Think about that. Alan Brzezinski had his best event that I've seen in a long time. Picked up every run down the racetrack. Val Smeeland is back. Way to go, Val. Bo Butner, of course. Stefan Earnyard, right, who is a European racer, going to be running with Alan Brzezinski and one of Brzezinski's Dodges. Fernando Quadra Jr., Christian Quadra, and Senior. That makes for 21 Pro Stock cars. 3 qualifying sessions. What does that mean? It's really tough. A lot of people are already debating the 3 qualifying sessions versus 4 qualifying sessions and all that. And it's so tough right now. And it is. It is tough. And isn't that great? Isn't that how it's supposed to be? Funny car. This is kind of weird in that Funny car is the least attended pro category. You got Ron Capps, Tasca, Cruz Pedregon, John Force, Alexis, Robert Height, Tim Wilkerson. All of those can win the race. And we're in a golden era of NHRA drag racing right now, guys. Kev, thank you, Kev. He's a FIA European champion. What, Pro Stock? Door Slammer? What do they call that category? Is this, because this is the second time this has happened. The last time we had a race win. Of course, he was filling in for Greg Anderson. But Jim Campbell, Matt Hagan, Paul Lee, Terry Haddock, Dave Richards from Wellington, Florida. I spoke with those guys the other day when I was up at PBIR bracket racing. They were not at the track. I went into a pizza place nearby, and one of the guys came in. We had a great conversation. John Smith. So Paul's bringing his car, the entertainer. Blake Alexander, first race of the year in the Head Incorporated machine. J.R. Todd, Chad Green. The way I count him, that's 16. Kind of interesting for a funny car. And then Top Fuel. This is what's nuts. This is what's nuts. Are you ready? What's nuts? Steve Torrence, Brittany Force, Justin Ashley, the return of Billy Torrence. Billy is back. Like the Billy, I'm not racing. It lasted 2 races. He's back, right? I heard that Johnny West is going to be doing the tuning there, but I'm going to wait and see. Antron Brown, Sean Langdon, Doug Coletta, Clay Milliken, Alex Laughlin, first race of the year for Alex. Josh Hart, the defending race winner. Trip Tatum. Trip Tatum can win in that car. He calls it a dream team of retired guys. Ike Meyer, Artie Allen, Lex June, first race of the year for Lex and all those guys. Tony Schumacher, Austin Prock, Spencer Massey back in Pat Dakin's car. With those guys they can run well. Krista Baldwin, Leah Pruitt, Doug Foley, Mike Salinas. 21 Top Fuel dragsters. Are you kidding me? This is what the Gator Nationals is all about. This is what the East Coast opener is all about. There are a lot of people, they don't want to go west. They can't go west, or it's too expensive to go west. And it's definitely expensive right now, guys. It's definitely going to be expensive. And people are talking about the weather. Jimmy Alland. That's right. He was the other Pro Stock champion. The Swedes love Pro Stock. It's not popular in the UK. And that's what UKEV is for. He's our European correspondent. He's also a Patreon. First race for Lex in a long time. Definitely. Pro Stock will not disappoint. Alan is not going to be in the studio tomorrow. He is 4 hours north of us. We live in South Florida. South Florida is the home of WFO. Daytona, northern Florida. And that's where he is. Yeah, but it would make sense, though, right? Like I was in Alan's studio, and Alan can be in my studio the week after. Speaking of Alan being in the studio, look at this wonderful gift he gave me for coming out there to Wild West Engineering. He gave me this. Isn't that great? Like as I'm getting ready to leave, it was like he realized the significance of the moment. Costello is never coming back. So that's not true, by the way. I hung out with Los Chincones down there. Look at this. This is a spark plug. And you might be able to see that. Look at that. It's kind of like an E3 spark plug, if you look at it, right? But how about some guesses as to what this came out of? That will be fun. Put your guesses as to what this spark plug is for. I don't think it's been in anything. But what is it for? And when Alan told me, I was pretty surprised, and it made it a lot. I'm super happy that I got it. Like, what? Really? And if you get it right away, I don't want to break the label, though, because it is. I don't want to say that. It'll tip it off. And then, of course, there's Pro Stock Motorcycle. Matt Smith, Angel, Steve Johnson, Eddie, Karen. It's funny. We don't even have to say the last names. Eddie Craywick, Karen Stouffer, Angie Smith, Ryan Oehler. We just spoke from Ryan. Everybody go hang. If you're not going to the Garlits thing on Thursday, tickets are still available. You can call Chuck at the museum and come see the show. Joe Amato, induct Tim Richards. Rick Stewart, Bobby Bennett, going to induct Scotty Cannon. Scotty Cannon. Okay? It's $110. You get a meal. You get a cool scotch glass. You get some swag. You get to hang out. Garlits is there. And it goes for the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame. David Barron, Chris Bostic, Mark Ingerson, Jerry Savoy. Way to go, Jerry. He's going to be back. Jimmy Underdahl, Joey Gladstone, Kelly Klantz, Lance Bonham. There's the field for Pro Stock Motorcycle. And it goes on and on. We got Factory Showdown. How many Showdown cars do we have? Well, that's cool. Aaron Stanfield, David Barton, Jesse Alexandra, who's got a new car. Mark Powell. A lot. Plenty. 30 entries for this category. Yeah, I noticed there. We'll definitely put that number up. Tater. Way to go, Tater. Troyer. Lee Hartman. Everybody moving in the right direction. And if you're wondering where our Carl Tasca, all right. If everybody is wondering where our Custom Aviation Factory Stock Showdown preview is, it happened with Aaron Stanfield last week. Okay, final thoughts before we get on out of here. Pro Stock car. That's not a good guess. It's a plug out of one of those ghost locomotives he's been looking for. That is a good guess. He says it's an aircraft spark plug. Maybe it is. Did anybody talk about 60-foot times in Pro Stock? Not specifically. Last week, some people referenced, the starting line being a little loose. But nah, that hasn't been spoken about. Never quit for Lex. First race for Lex in a long time. And there you go. It is out of a B-29 bomber. And, Alan lives down there in Arizona where I'm sure everybody saw the movie My Science Project. I'm sure, right? Like that's a must for people growing up in the 80s. My Science Project. Kid in the GTO goes out to the aircraft boneyard, goes into a, bomber, finds a military, it's alien technology, opens a war. You guys can look it up on IMDb. My Science Project, great movie. Anyway, as an East Coast kid, that's fascinating to me. The idea of a military scrapyard. And that's what dreams are made of. Are you kidding me? And Reinhardt's living out there. So he saw an ad, I guess, on Craigslist or something, like B-29 parts. And so he went and there was not a lot that he could get, but they had some new spark plugs in the box. And I just think that is just so cool. Like, look at you're getting a pretty good view of it right there. And so this is my reward for going to Tucson. And I think it's well worth it. So thank you very much, Alan Reinhardt. And he's got his little museum, and I've got mine. I've now got a spark plug and a valve spring from Matt Hartford's Pro Stock car. And we're going to have some more stuff up there very soon. Way to go, Jim. What did I win? You get bragging rights, Jim Essex. Joe, we need to know if any Sleeper Factory X cars are going to be Gainesville racing in another category. So here's the deal. We're following the Factory X story as closely as we can. For instance, Jerry Haas informed me that they've got multiple contracts to build the cars, but we're not there yet. We are, it's just not enough time has gone by. In fact, Lonnie Grimm, who is the tech director for NHRA, said out in Arizona that they were laser measuring the dimensions on the factory counterparts out in Arizona. And it was something that we really wanted to showcase, but we just, we got overrun by the events of the day. So we didn't get to do it. But they're still taking measurements and giving measurements for bodies and stuff. That story will continue to evolve. TSA would confiscate that spark plug. And yet they didn't even ask, Scott. They didn't even ask. It was in my bag. And I'm wondering, are they going to see the spark plug? Are they going to want the spark plug? Don't let me put a hair gel in there that's too big, because they always find that. Will they find it? No, they didn't even ask about the spark plug. Again, from days ago, Rick Stewart is ex-NHRA announcer, front engine top fuel pilot. Yeah, didn't I say that? The NHRA starter. It was like the third of all time. Replaced Buster. Like, you filled in directly for Buster. That's going to be great. You're going to love that. Let's see. Do you think Stevie Fast is going to win this weekend? Well, first of all, just speaking with JR Gray sounded really confident. And I like that. And Stevie and Billy have made a lot of runs overseas in the Middle East this offseason. And Lyle seems pretty geeked up. Those guys were very strong at the end of last year. But Jose Gonzalez is the defending race winner, and he's the champ. And, there's something to be said about champions from the previous year going out and winning the first race of the following year. Monica was guessing that it was military, something to do with military. It definitely did. It had something to do with the military. And there you go. Great show, Joe. I think my NASCAR fantasy pick, they're cursed. Yeah, if I pick them, they're cursed. Me and you both. And we'll be talking about that on the Ignition Show. All right, guys, final thought. Shout out to our sponsors. If you have a comment, put it in the comment section. We can do predictions for the Gatornationals tomorrow after Reinhardt speaks on the deal. But shout out to Marvin Rodak and RodaksCoffeeandGrills.com. Guys, coffee, hot sauce, spice rub, grills, tools, tips, information. Like, I've got all kinds of great stuff through Rodak's, and it has raised my grilling game. Give them a call, 817-924-6821. Going to be making some big announcements soon involving Marvin Rodak. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, the Dragster Adventure, but you can get your license. You can drive a top alcohol funny car, of course. FrankHawley.com. and located at Gainesville Raceway. But the driving school, Dragster Adventure, travels around the country. They go to where you are. Very cool. Samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. We always say start your education at full speed. Definitely. The next generation of engine builders, where are they going to come from? Young people, children of racers, children of engine builders. You can't go wrong with the Samtech education. FTIperformance.com. DeLand, Florida. Gainesville Raceway. Ground zero for FTI. No doubt. Baby Gators this weekend. We'll talk a little bit about it tomorrow. How about that Super Comp final, though? Trinae Crisoni and Holden Larice battling each other. But FTI, great job, guys. See you this weekend. And finally, Total Seal Piston Rings, the leader in ring seal technology, totalseal.com. See, I made a mistake because I don't know if Trinae and those guys use FTI, but I was just kind of referencing Super Comp, where FTI is a prominent transmission and torque converter builder, just to explain to everybody out there. And then totalseal.com, the leader in ring seal technology, from stock eliminator all the way up to obviously comp and pro stock, and now even kind of working into the nitro ranks. They have got technology that they believe can and will be very useful in Top Fuel. And I'll tell you what I learned is that a lot of people just assume you have to throw the ring away, like, one and done with a ring in the nitro burning engines. And Total Seal, they have some technology that they believe can extend the life of the piston ring and make it a useful part for more than one run. Think about that, totalseal.com. Thank you to all of our sponsors. And then the Patreons, the people who pay for the show, monthly or yearly basis. It's basically create your own membership. We've got multiple tiers: sportsman, alcohol, and WFO, as in all in. Go to the website, WFOradio.com, and click on Patreon. See if it's for you. And remember, we've got our own WFO store where you can get t-shirts. The face coverings aren't a thing anymore, guys. I'm going to get rid of that. Face coverings aren't a thing anymore. The pandemic is over. Just in time for World War III. Out of the frying pan into the fire. What? Yeah, gas prices, right? But I see those people over there fighting their tails off in the Ukraine, and it is inspiring. It is inspiring. That's what it's all about. Who knew? Crazy stuff. All right, guys. Let's see what the final comments are out there in the comment section, if there are any. Let's see. Lonnie Salinas will be in Pro Modified this weekend, right? Yeah, absolutely. Mike Salinas is going to be in Pro Modified. He told us he's going to run every race in Pro Modified. And let me see if his name is on the entry list. Didn't I mention his name is not on the entry list? What? Jose Gonzalez, Stevie Fast, Lyle Barnett, Doug Winters, Ricky Smith, and it says Camaro, but I think he's in a Mustang. Mike Castellana, Taylor Miller, Sidney Frigo. Wow, Sidney. Cool. Khaled, Dwayne Wolf, Jericho Balduff, Chris Thorne, Jason Scruggs, Justin Bond, J.R. Gray, obviously. That's 15 cars. But Mike Salinas says he's going to be there, and I believe it. Sometimes I don't believe the internet, Don't believe the internet, guys. It's not always right. It's just not always right. Remember, the Patreons get to participate with the Ignition Show, which will be happening later on this evening. We'll talk fantasy NASCAR, and I'll give you the behind-the-scenes stories from Tucson. Talk about all the different stuff that went down this weekend. My own bracket racing. That's right. I went bracket racing this weekend. Forgot all about that. My last drag race at PBIR. The last time I will be able to race there. Very sad. Also, the March meet. Going to talk a little bit about that. Yeah, my friends. We went out there. We had great confidence. And I got to tell you, folks, me and my buddy Corey, we went, we saw, and we got our butts handed to us. So pretty much like normal. In the immortal words of Cletus Snow, the usual, I lost. Thanks to Taylor for coming on the show. Appreciate it. Big thanks to everyone who participated. Flyin Ryan Oehler. Thank you, Ryan. Thursday night, Hooters. That's why I wanted Ryan to be on, so he could plug his Hooters appearance. And obviously, Lyle Barnett. How about Lyle sending this picture of JR? JR called it propaganda. Kind of is. Kind of propaganda. But really, for me, it's the commitment to safety by this man. People don't want a confrontation with other people. So if you see someone with a T-shirt and they're going to drive their own car and it's going to be unsafe, you let them do it maybe because they're a grown man, right? Lyle says no, that it's worth it. I agree with Lyle. All right, guys, we'll be back 1 o'clock tomorrow, Tuesday. In the meantime, there'll be an ignition show and the archive is open. Mike Salinas, Aaron Stanfield, and others. WFO Gatornationals this week.